Should we do the Apple work from home story? I do think this is an interesting work from home story, or a developing story, I should say. And this is affecting companies worldwide, especially. I know we have a lot of tech people that are here watching this. And this is an interesting story. If you work in tech, if you work anywhere, but especially if you work in tech, because people are not enthusiastic about going back to the office. And Apple's got like a mutiny on their hands. I don't know if anyone's following this story, but they are trying to get people to come back to the office. Well, first they said 2 days a week, and now they are going up to 3 days a week. And there was a story, was it yesterday, that they're actually delaying that, right, Lewis?
Well, they're what they're doing is slowing the pace. I mean, they were supposed to be back at their desks 3 days a week later this month, but here in the Bay Area, COVID cases are rising again. Everybody's getting a little alerts on their watches and their phones, like, you've been exposed to somebody who has COVID. So now they're going to require them to be in the offices 2 days a week is their plan. 2 days. It's kind of wild. People are adamant about not going back. People are threatening to resign. I don't know what to think about it. I mean, I understand why Apple wants people back. I mean, I think we're 2.5 years into a completely unnatural situation, and I mean, I can't imagine running a company that big all remotely. But at the same time, like if you. I mean, there are a lot of people in San Francisco that worked on there. I mean, I had a friend who worked there, and he, 2 days or 2 hours a day on a bus, right? I mean, at least he didn't have to drive himself. At least he was able to hop on the bus and go down. And he could even, after a certain period of time, they were even allowed to count that as time on the job, because they have a laptop and they're working on their way down there, right? Which, by the way, speaking of things that will make you vomit, I would do that immediately if I had to type and read on.
Yeah, I would get so car sick. All right, let me ask the chat this while we're talking here. I got a question for you guys. Okay, someone asked me this, and I thought it was a really interesting question. Let's say that, if you work from home, okay, or you work from home part-time, how much extra money would your company have to give you to come back full-time? What is that number to you? Is it 20,000? Is it 100,000? I think everyone's got a number. I think I have mine, and I have been working from home for probably 7 years now, maybe longer. It was kind of like hybrid for a while, but I decided pretty early when I had kids that I wasn't going to take a job where I had to go in full time, because I actually love my kids. I want to see my kids as much as possible, especially while they're young. And for those of you that don't know, I got 4 young kids. They all look just like me. Beautiful. Super intelligent, long, luscious, curly hair. And,
soft-spoken.
Yeah, soft-spoken.
Unopinionated.
They're more opinionated than I would sometimes prefer, to be honest with you, Lewis, especially about dinner, if I'm being honest. A lot of complaining about dinner that happens.
Just think when you get these, you put the goggles on all of them, and they'll just be like, these are delicious corn dogs.
And that would only cost me. Corn dogs isn't a problem, Lewis. It's when you get anything green on the plate. It only cost me $12,000 to outfit my 4 kids with Apple mixed reality headsets. That actually might be worth it for the complaining. But once you get used to working from home, you don't have to shower to go in. You don't have to get ready. You don't have to prepare your lunch. There's no commuting. I mean, in the Seattle area, it's easy for you to waste 2 hours a day just commuting. And then there's the whole getting ready, and then you don't get to see your kids. And now I'm broadcasting from Colt Command. This is where I work. I built this in my yard so that I could work from home and be away from my family. But I get to go in, see my kids. Once they get too rowdy, I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. But I can eat dinner with them. It's like I get to see them all throughout the day. And those interactions are priceless to me. I would not trade those. If you wanted me to come in full time, it would probably cost you an extra, I'm going to say probably $60,000. You'd have to pay me an extra $60,000. Now, look,
wow.
I realize that's a privileged position to be in. Like, there's a lot of people who wouldn't be able to make a demand like that, and most people probably wouldn't even give you an extra $60,000 if you wanted it. But that's how much it's worth to me. So, like, I would rather take a job that paid $60,000 less to work remotely, because I just think it's that much better. Just from a life and stress perspective, it's so much better working from home, I think.
Oh yeah, I see people that do the commutes. I mean, I just can't imagine burning that much of your life driving, especially in the Bay Area when it's like, I mean, other parts of the country, I think it's a little bit more predictable, but here sometimes it could be 20 minutes or it could be an hour and a half, and never knowing exactly how much time difference is going to be. Oh my God. And then that the price of gasoline these days.
Oh, dude. Yeah. You factor that in. Right. Yeah. And for me, like when I was younger, there's this bridge that crosses the from Seattle to the other side of the water is like Bellevue, and like the other side of kind of like the tech hub in this area is like Seattle and Bellevue. And there's a bridge, and it was free. You could just cross it. And now they have tolls on that bridge, and it's like, dude, you could pay $8, $9 just to cross the bridge one way. You know what I mean? And so now you got to add that into your costs. All right, here we go. In the chat, we got Sparkle Boom saying double. They'd have to pay him double, which means I'm gonna guess going from 200,000 to 400,000 because he's a high quality individual. We got Jeff Druin saying no amount. I'm about to buy a camper and work on the road.
Nice.
If you're a developer, that's pretty appealing. Let's see here. Streamline is saying been working at home since 2020. Maybe 30K to get me to go back in. Level Remix is saying 40% raise. I thought he said 40K. 40% raise. Ryan Stryker. They would have to pay for my gas. That's it. Ryan Stryker's pretty easygoing, but he's got a great job. He's like on that elite military force where they kick your door in. They're like, here comes Stryker, and he kicks his foot through your door and he blows you away with his 12 gauge. So that'd be pretty cool. Let's see here. I've been told my laundry during meetings. Oh, I fold my laundry during meetings. I have literally done, not recently, but I have literally done meetings from bed. Like, I'm just like, if it's a meeting that I don't have to say anything in and the camera doesn't have to be on, I'm like, I'll just be in bed. If it's just like a listening meeting, it's like, I'm just here to listen. You don't need me to talk. I'll be in bed for that. I don't know, man. So Apple has this major problem, right? There's a lot of people inside Apple who are really upset that they have to go back to work. And Apple is having a retention problem just like other tech companies. In fact, there was a story that I think was out a couple weeks ago that you guys may have seen. Apple's director of machine learning resigns due to return to office work. Apple's director of machine learning, Ian Goodfellow, has resigned from his role a little over 4 years after he joined the company, after previously being one of Google's top AI employees, according to The Verge. So they lost this guy because he didn't want to come back to the office full time. Let's see here. The story goes on. A Goodfellow reportedly broke the news to staff in an email saying his resignation is in part due to Apple's plan to return to in-person work, which required employees to work at the office at least 1 day per week by April 11th, 2 days per week by April or May 2nd, and at least 3 days per week by May 23rd. So the May 23rd date is the one they just postponed. He goes on to say, I strongly believe that more work flexibility would have been the best policy for my team. And there are just countless people that I know that have kids, especially, that are developers that want to go on the road in their camper, and they're like, I don't want to go into the office anymore. And if there's one good thing that came out of COVID, it's the fact that it kind of changed work culture, I think, is that companies realized we could have people just work from home. We'll make our tools better so that they can collaborate better. And they changed their policies permanently. Like Facebook is one of them. I think they said they're going to have half their workforce off-site by some date in the future. That's crazy. But the other thing, sorry, I'm rambling, but I've been giving this a lot of thought. The other strange situation that's been created by this whole work from home culture, especially amongst tech workers, is it has allowed people, for the first time, I think in the history of the world, it has allowed people it has disconnected people and their earning potential from the places that they live, right? If you lived in the city, you would make way more money than someone who is in a more rural area. And now that's just not true. You can take your high-paid tech job with you wherever you go and move somewhere that's a lot cheaper to live. And what is happening is it's driving up the property prices in all these places that surround, tech areas, or even don't surround tech areas. Like the whole state of Washington has been lit up with super high property prices, which I think there's more reasons than just the workers moving all over the place, but it allows tech workers to take their salaries and just go wherever they want and pay as much as they need to get a house. And it's like just making the price of housing go up everywhere. So it's a really interesting time, because if you can make 200 grand with your salary and RSUs and go to, Bellingham, Washington and make that same money, it's like now all of a sudden you're living like a sultan. You're living like El Caney.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what I mean?
crazy. And the whole thing of like, have you seen some of the rigs people have? The digital nomads. Like this guy in the chat was talking about getting a van, right? I mean, I had a friend who did that. He went on, just basically said, "Oh well, I think I'll live here for a while. I think I'll live there for a while." It's very appealing. I mean, if you are footloose and fancy free.
If there's one thing you guys need to know about me, I'm footloose. I never
Kind of footloose.
I never miss a chance to come slide into the living room in my socks and my white briefs.
And your loose feet.
And my feet just get loose. You know what I'm saying? They're all over the place. It's like James Brown action.
Oh, nice.
Bust out one of those Michael Jackson kicks, Lewis.
Yeah, you'll have to show us that
I'd love to see you do some fancy
right now.
some fancy foot action. What do you think, Lewis?
I don't think so.
You got any
I don't
fancy
think
foot
that's-
action you could show us before we wrap up here?
I've kicked someone in the, once or
hurts.
twice, but that's about it.
Okay. Well, I just figured since you're in a band, like you probably get into it doing some fancy foot
Yeah.
action.
I'm not a dancer, unfortunately.
I think everyone's a dancer deep down. There are just those that are willing to show it, and those that like to do it in private. You know what I'm saying?
With your VR headset on.
All right. I think that's all we got, Lewis.